araw po sa ating lahat. Ang Catechetical Ministry ng Diocese of Kalookan ay magbabahagi ng series of reflection na mula po sa aklat na Go, Teach, Make Disciples na ang may akda o author ay si Father James H. Kroeger. Nagmisyon po siya sa Asia, partikular sa Pilipinas at Bangladesh, upang maglingkod sa mga parokya at sa mga gawaing paghuhubog sa mga seminarista, relihiyoso, mga namumunong laiko at sa mga katekista.
Ito po ay series dahil tatalakayin na ibabahagi sa atin ang 12 paksa kung saan napapalooban ng mga salita ng Diyos, mga dokumento o turo ng simbahan, mga quotes mula sa ating mga naging at pangkasalukuyang Santo Papa na makakatulong sa pagpapaalab ng ating misyon bilang mga katekista.
Ang aklat na ito ay sinulat ng may akda na naglalaman ng mga katuruan, mga pananaw at pagninilay tungkol sa misyon at ebanghelisasyon. Ngayong ipinagdiriwang natin ang taon ng misyon at paghahanda sa 500 taon ng Kristyanismo sa ating bansa.
Magandang araw po sa ating lahat. Narito pa ako upang magbigay ng panayam bilang bahagi ng ating ongoing formation. Ang naibigay po sa aking topic ay Filipino Witnesses of Faith, Living Mission and Life. Sa mundo natin ngayon, isa sa karaniwang nararanasan ay ang kawalan ng pag-asa tulad ng sakit at paghihirap, pagiging makasarili at kasalanan. Ito ang mas nakikita sa ating buhay. Kamangha-mangha at malalim na pamamaraan ay makikita na ang liwanag at pag-asa ang magkasama. Bagong pananaw ng kagandahan. At ang kahulugan ng buhay ay malalim na presensya ng Panginoon ang sumisikat. Nararanasan ang bagong pag-asa ng mga ordinaryong tao, lalo na sa mga taong nais magbigay ng sarili upang maglingkod sa kapwa. Makikita sa kanilang buhay ang pananampalataya sa Diyos kahit nasa mahirap at kawalan ng katiyakan na panahon. Sila'y nagiging inspirasyon ng pananampalataya, pag-asa at liwanag sa nakapaligid sa kanila. Nakatuon sa kislap ng pag-asa na magbubunga ng pagpapanibago ng pananampalataya sa kagandahan ng buhay ng isang tao. Tunay na ang mundo ay hindi nawawalan ng mga napapanahon ng mga leaders na nagiging bayani at tagapagbalita ng pananampalataya. Palaging nagbibigay liwanag ang pagbasa na ng salaysay ng pananampalataya o makikita sa banal na kasulatan ang positibong naibibigay. Ang pananaw ng pananampalataya ay nagbibigay ng pangunahing balangkas sa buhay na komplikado at mahirap na panahon. Ngunit tayo ay may mas malalim na pagpapahalaga sa pananaw na ibinibigay ng nagiging saksi ng pananampalataya na nakikita ang kagandahan sa kanilang buhay. Naririnig ito sa pamamagitan ng pakikinig ng mga sermon. Sinabi ni Pope Paul VI, ang mga tao ngayon, mas nais nilang makinig sa patotoo ng mga saksi kaysa mga guro dahil sila rin ay mga saksi. Si Pope Francis ay inaanyayahan tayo na tingnan natin na ang mga tunay na banal ay makikita natin sa ating mga kapitbahay, sa ating kapwa, na makikita natin ang presensya ng Diyos. Maaari natin silang tawagin the middle class of holiness. Itong maiksing pananaw ay magsisilbing takda sa yugto sa 4 na piraso sa iba't ibang pagkakaiba ng saksi ng pananampalataya at beacon of light na mga namuno na nagkaroon ng epekto sa atin sa nagdaang dekada. Silang lahat ay mula sa samahan ng mga santo na mga Kristiyano. Sa kalagayan at pagkakaiba ay makikita ang malalim na pag-asa na nakaugat sa pananampalataya sa Diyos. Maririnig at mababasa natin ang buhay nito. 4, pagnilayan natin ng mas malalim ang kahulugan ng kanilang pagpapahayag ng kanilang buhay bilang mga naging saksi ng Ebanghelyo ng Panginoon. Ang mga Pilipino ay nagalak at ang mundo ay nagdiwang dahil lumakas ang ating pananampalataya at ang ating misyon ay nagpapatuloy. Nangingibabaw ang tunay na damdamin nang si Saint Pedro Calungsod ay hinirang na santo noong ika-21 ng Oktubre 2012 sa Roma. At si Saint Lorenzo Ruiz hinirang na santo noong ika-17 ng Oktubre 1987. Remarkably, ang dalawang Pilipinong santong ito hinirang ng linggo ng misyon na eksaktong 25 taon ang pagitan, na ang dalawang santong ito ay kilala na may malalim na pananampalataya at tunay na may pagmamahal sa Diyos na saksi at huwaran sa buong mundo. Ngayon po, balikan natin ang kwento ng talambuhay ni San Lorenzo Ruiz at San Pedro Calungsod. Panoorin po natin ang video.
Saint Lorenzo Ruiz was born around the year 1600 in the Philippines. His parents were Christians who raised him as a Catholic. He served happily in his parish church as an altar boy and calligrapher. As a young man, Lorenzo joined the Dominican confraternity of the Most Holy Rosary. Later, he married and had 3 children. In 1636, Lorenzo was accused of murder, perhaps wrongly. To protect his safety at the time, he fled home and found refuge on board a ship with 3 Dominican priests and a leper. The ship departed the Philippines on June 10, 1636, bound for Okinawa. A shock awaited the holy passengers when they arrived in Japan. At the time of their arrival, the rulers of Japan were persecuting Christians. Lorenzo was arrested by Japanese officials for the crime of being a Christian and ordered to recant his faith. When he refused, he was imprisoned for 2 years. Eventually, Lorenzo and his companions were taken to Nagasaki to be tortured and killed if they would not recant their faith. Lorenzo and his companions were tortured with water, forced into their mouths and down their throats, and out their noses and ears. Following this, Lorenzo was hung upside down with a rope around his ankles. Lorenzo refused to recant. According to the record of his death, his last words were, "I am a Catholic, and wholeheartedly do accept death for God. Had I 1,000 lives, all these to him I shall offer. Do with me as you please." His traveling companions were all killed, but steadfast until the end. Lorenzo was beatified by Pope John Paul II on February 18, 1981. The beatification ceremony was held in the Philippines, making it the first beatification ceremony ever held outside the Vatican. His canonization took place at the Vatican on October 18, 1987. St. Lorenzo Ruiz's feast day is on September 28th. He is the patron saint of Filipino youth, the Philippines, people working overseas, and altar servers.
Not too long ago, we were elated by the news that a Filipino was to be elevated to sainthood. That was Saint Lorenzo Ruiz de Manila. This year, another Filipino will be included among the holy people who have lived for God's glory in a heroic way and who now pray for all of us. He is Blessed Pedro Calungsod. Although little has been said about Blessed Pedro, he definitely has made an impact on the life of the Church. Some historians identify Cebu as his birthplace. There he grew up as a devout young boy who was trained by the Jesuits to master the catechism and to serve at Mass. He also learned Spanish and Latin. He was one of the skilled lay Filipino catechists who were chosen to join the Jesuit mission in Ladrones Islands or the Marianas Islands. The said mission was led by the Spanish Jesuit missionary Padre Diego Luis de San Vitores, whom the Church would later declare a blessed to. Their voyage was funded by the Queen Regent of Spain, Maria Ana of Austria. All was set for them to bring the good news in that part of the Pacific. So in 1668, Padre Diego, Pedro, and other missionary catechists sailed the Pacific Ocean and reached Guam, one of the islands of the Ladrones. There they began catechizing its natives, called the Chamorros. Now, we know that missionary life never comes easy. It will really challenge you to the core. But if the mission is fueled by charity, by your love for God, then nothing will be unbearable, as shown by Pedro and his fellow missionaries. In spite of the irregular arrival of their provisions, the difficulty of traversing jungles and terrains, and the terror of strong typhoons that frequently hit the islands, they persevered and were able to convert a significant number of natives. But then tragedy struck. Some sickly Chamorro infants died eventually after they were baptized. A Chinese merchant named Choco spread a rumor that the water used in this infant's baptism was poisonous. The rumor alarmed the community. Many believed the story, and they held the missionaries responsible for the death of these little Chamorros. Choco was backed up by the upper class called Matuas, the medicine men called Makanhas, and the young men called Uritaos, and together they despised the missionaries. The missionaries soon reached the village of Tumon. There they found out that the wife of Matapang, the chieftain of the village, had given birth to a baby girl. They wanted to baptize the child, but Matapang strongly opposed. To give him time to cool down, they gathered the children and some of the adults by the shore. They sang chants about our faith and even invited the chieftain to join them, but to no avail. He shouted at them. He was truly angry. Matapang went away. He tried to enlist Hirao, his fellow villager, in his plan to kill the missionaries. At first, Hirao refused, but Matapang called him a coward. So to prove that he was not, he consented. Meanwhile, while Matapang was out of sight, Padre Diego baptized the child with the consent of the mother, who was a Christian convert herself. When Matapang returned and learned of his daughter's baptism, he was overcome by rage. He hurled spears at the missionaries. Pedro was able to dodge the spears thrown at him, and he had all the chance to escape, being young and agile. But he refused to abandon his superior, the old Padre Diego. He stayed with him and did his best to protect him. Soon a spear hit his chest. He fell to the ground, and immediately Hirao finished him off with one blow on his head. Pedro Calungsod models for us intense love for mission and love for neighbor. He willingly left his family to bring the good news to some distant place. He willingly gave up his life for his friend. He chose to embody the ideals of Christ. Thus, his mission bore much fruit. Even today, the Christian faith persists in the Marianas.
Sabi po ni San Lorenzo Ruiz, "Ako ay Kristiyano. Mananatili ako hanggang sa kamatayan. Buong puso kong sinasabi, saksi ko ang Diyos. Sanlibo mang buhay, ibibigay ko para sa aking pananampalataya." At sinabi rin naman ni San Pedro Calungsod, "Buhay na inaalay upang ipahayag ang pananampalataya." Maraming titulo ang maaaring i-describe kay San Lorenzo Ruiz at San Pedro Calungsod. Dedicated church worker, young migrant, enthusiastic missionary, faithful friend, unwavering martyr. The church emphasized the missionary dimension of their heroic witness of faith. Exemplified words of Saint Pope John Paul II, I wish to tell you of my special desire that Filipino will become the foremost missionaries of the Church of Asia. Committed faith, even in the face of death, is a profound source of genuine Christian witness." Si Jaime Cardinal Sin ay kilala rin sa tawag na Jaime Sin at Jaime La Chica Sin. Siya ay kardinal ng Romano-Katolikong Simbahan. Naging instrumento siya sa pagkatalo ng rehime ni Marcos at sa pagkakaluklok ni Corazon Aquino bilang Pangulo noong 1986. Si Jaime L. Sin ay ipinanganak sa bayan ng New Washington, Aklan, sa Polo ng Visayas noong 21 ng Agosto 1928. Siya ang ikapito sa siyam na anak ni Juan Sin at Maxima La Chica. Nagsimulang maging misyonero si Cardinal Sin sa Haro, Iloilo, at doon ay pumasok siya sa Haro at Diocesan Seminary of St. Vincent Ferrer. Naging ganap na pari siya noong Abril 1954. Nagsilbi siyang bilang pari ng Diocese ng Capiz mula 1954 hanggang 1957. Humawak siya ng iba't ibang posisyon sa Simbahang Katoliko mula sa pagiging pari hanggang sa naging arsobispo ng Maynila noong 9 ng Marso 1974. Ginawa siyang kardinal ng Papa Paul VI noong 26 ng Mayo 1976 at inihalal na kasapi ng Synod Bishops sa Roma. Kilala rin si Cardinal Sin sa kanyang partisipasyon sa pagkaalis ng Pangulo at diktador na si Pangulong Marcos noong 1986. Nang ang ministro ng Tanggulang Pambansa na si Juan Ponce Enrile at ikalawang hepe de Estado Mayor Fidel V. Ramos ay tumangging suportahan ang pagtatangka ni Marcos na manipulahin ang halalan at magsagawa ng pag-aaklas. Nananawagan si Cardinal Sin sa mga Pilipino sa Kalakhang, Maynila na suportahan sina Enrile at Ramos. Libo-libo ang tumugon at dinagsaan dalawang kampo ng militar. Sa loob ng ilang araw, ay tumungo na si Marcos sa Hawaii upang magtago. At si Corazon Aquino naman ay manumpa bilang Pangulo. Dahil sa aklasang bayan sa EDSA, si Cardinal Sin ay lumitaw na pangunahing puwersang moral sa politika sa Pilipinas. Namatay si Cardinal Sin noong 21 na Hunyo 2005 sa edad na 76 Nagkaroon siya ng problema sa puso at bato na siyang naging dahilan ng kanyang kamatayan. Ang motto niya ay, Serbiam, I serve. He meant it with all his heart and strength. His motto became a program of commitment, action, and generous service. Naging simbolo si Cardinal C ng isang aktibong simbahan na nakikinig sa daing ng mahihirap. Marami siyang naikayat sa pananampalataya dahil sa kanyang katapangan at paninindigan laban sa katiwalaan. I want to be remembered that I was a good priest, that I served my people very, very well. He is to us the greatest cardinal in the world. He is our pastor and friend, our patriarch and brother, a priest and patriot, a prophet. Cardinal sent heartfelt thanks for restoring to hope a struggling nation, who said, Serbiam, and leave it to the pool. You have shown us that living and serving the faith means in our daily lives. Corazon Aquino, blazing and serene hope. Nag-aalab, pero mahinahon. Corazon Aquino, Enero 25, 1933, pinanganak. Agosto 1, 2009, namatay, ay ang kauna-unahang babaeng Pangulo ng Pilipinas na naglingkod mula 1986 hanggang 1992. Asawa siya ng pinuno ng oposisyon ng Pilipino na si Benigno Ninoy Aquino at sinimula ng kanyang karera sa politika noong 1983 matapos na patayin ang diktador na si Ferdinand Marcos. Mabilis na katotohanan ni Corazon Aquino. Kilala sa kilusang pinuno ng people power at ng ikalabing isang Pangulo ng Pilipinas. Kilala rin sa Maria Corazon Cory Cujanco Aquino. Ipinanganak Enero 25, 1933 sa Paniquitarlac, Pilipinas. Mga magulang, Jose Chichoco Cujanco at Demetria Mitring Sumulong. Namatay siya August 1, 2009 sa Makati, Metro Manila, Pilipinas. Edukasyon, Ravenhill Academy at Notre Dame Convent School sa New York. College of Mount St. Vincent sa New York City. Ang law school niya ay sa Far Eastern University sa Manila. Mga pangaral at honors. J. William Fulbright Prize para sa International Understanding na pinili ng Oras Magazine bilang isa sa mga 20 pinaka maimpluwensyang Asyano na ika-20 siglo at isa sa 65 dakilang mga bayani sa Asya. Asawa niya ay si Ninoy Aquino. Mga bata o anak niya, Maria Elena Aurora Corazon, Benigno III Noynoy, Victoria Elisa at Cristina Bernadette. Kapansin-pansin na quote, mas gugustuhin kong mamatay sa isang makabuluhang kamatayan kaysa mabuhay ng walang katuturuan sa buhay. She noted how she and Ninoy were given a blessing and serene hope in the midst of darkness. She said, for me, this blessing and serene hope is founded on faith. Cory anchored her life and mission in the faith, prayer, courage, and hope that shaped her life in a world. Cory proved to be a genuine leader and a beacon of Christian faith. Na ang humuhubog sa buhay at misyon ni Presidente Cory Aquino ay ang kanyang pananampalataya, panalangin, courage, at pag-asa. Kaya naman, naging tunay na namuno bilang isang leader at huwaran bilang Kristiyano pananampalataya. Ngayon po, pagnilayan po natin itong 4 na Pilipinong witnesses of faith ng kanilang misyon sa buhay ay ang maglingkod sa Diyos at sa kapwa. Bilang pagtatapos po, meron akong mga ilang guide question para sa ating pagninilay. Are you inspired by Lorenzo Ruiz statement, "I would rather die 1,000 deaths than renounce my faith"? Could you make the statement yourself? Why is Pedro Canunsod a model of committed service? What do you know about the People Power EDSA Nonviolent Revolution in 1986? And what role did Cardinal Sin play in those events? What qualities in Cory Aquino do you admire most? How did Cory's faith help her to live out her mission, to lead the Philippines, even in the midst of many challenges? Yun lamang po at maraming salamat po sa inyong pakikinig sa araw na ito.